4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the August 31st Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee. On this committee as voting members are myself, Councillor Pilat, Councillor Thiessen, and Mayor Clayton. And we don't have any delegations today, so that brings us to item 3.1, Downtown Rehabilitation Phase 4 update with Mr. Hoyen.
Did I turn it off? Let's have a look here. Good morning to the chair, mayor, and members. Update for this committee meeting today. One of the things that has come up, and we're going to, through both the contractor and the city, we will be delaying the installation of the trees and plants this fall to give them a better chance to survive rather than planting them in October through this time frame. So that's one thing that's happening. Work on the west side of 100th Street has had the cement base installed in preparation for paving stone installation. Further work in this area will include the installation of the planter beds and seat walls. Within the Block 1 portion, 100th Avenue between 99th Street and 100th Street, 70% of the temporary water service has been transferred back to permanent water service. The soil cells and all electrical conduit and irrigation infrastructure has been installed. The gravel for the sidewalk base is being installed, and the concrete base in this same area is expected to be completed by the end of next week. This concrete base will return full access to all the businesses within Block 1. Paving stone installation will begin after the installation of the concrete base, and that is expected to be complete by the second week of October. Within the Block 2 area, the installation of all the deep utilities, water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer has been completed. These installations were installed between 99th Street all the way into the intersection of 98th Street and 100th Avenue. With the completion of the deep utilities, the intersection can now be prepared to be reopened by the start of next week. With the installation of the deep utilities, road-based stabilization with concrete will begin this week. This will enable the gravel base and concrete curbs to be installed and 2 lifts of asphalt shortly after. An update on the schedule. This project has fallen behind by approximately 2 weeks. Tomorrow we will be meeting with the engineering consultant and the contractor to see how time may be made up in the current work schedule. The work schedule, the scope of work, fits completely between the beginning of May and the end of October. It is a very complex project with many moving parts. Some of the delays that have occurred, as detailed in the last meeting, were the delay of the opening of 100th Avenue and 100th Street intersection. We had the type of soil used rejected twice, as there's a certain pH level that has to be attached to the soil. And essentially, there's minor mistakes that happen that completely just cause problems throughout the process. When something happens wrong, it does cause a problem downstream. So, like I say, that's basically my report at this time. Any questions?
Great, thank you. I see Mayor Clayton followed by Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks, Chair Bressey. Thanks for your update and your report. When you address a delay, is this a delay of the whole project? Is there stages phasing that we'll look to see? Would we be able to open, the retail intensified block and continue work on the other end? Tell me what this looks like for, day-to-day use and for the businesses downtown.
Through the chair. Yes, the objective is to open the business intensive block as soon as we can. That's the big concern. Yes, it will push sections back in time. So, but the intention is to get Block 1 area open to traffic.
If I may, thanks, Chair Bressey. What would it look like if the winter weather comes early? And is there potential that the entire project could be unfinished until next spring, and with the excavation still left open?
That is a definite concern, through the chair. I cannot completely, it is hypothetical, but yes, the weather in this country can definitely affect how this here moves through. Essentially, I would guess that we could possibly return traffic through the zone, but there would be implications to the other work, basically.
And I also do see Director Glavin hoping to chime in.
Thank you, Chair Bressey. The chance that we would accept the downtown not being returned to both vehicular and pedestrian traffic is remote, and we would put all efforts and pressure on the contractor to ensure that did not happen.
Councillor Thiessen. And then Councillor Pilat.
Thank you very much, Chair Bressey. Thank you very much, Mr. Hoyen, for your presentation. I guess similar to Mayor Clayton, in regards to the potential that we could be seeing in an earlier winter. I don't have my farmer's almanac, but definitely we had an early spring, an early summer, and looks like an early fall. So an early winter might be something that we can anticipate. I guess I'm just wondering, either Mr. Hoyen or Director Glavin, in regards to contingencies. I know we're going to make every effort to finish off and cap up this project. Obviously, we want it up to the standards that we originally contracted it out towards. So as far as contingencies go, if we do have to put in temporary sidewalks or we have to re-excavate to put in the tree cells and stuff like that later on, considering that this could be going into November, what does our contract with the Canelson afford us as far as finishing the work in the next season if it's not done this season?
I'm not fully aware of the full specifications of the contract in this situation, but I know that in phase 1 there was sacrificial concrete placed to return the sidewalks to pedestrian traffic that was removed during the phase 2 project. So situations like that do come up. So that could be a possibility.
Now, would that be done at our cost, or would that be done within the scope of the contract and at Canelson's cost and the contingencies placed within it?
Sorry, Mr. Hoyen, I did just see out of the corner of my eye Director Glavin hoping to get in.
Thanks, Chair Bressey. Yeah, this would be similar to phase 1. If you remember, in front of Better Than Fred's, there was sacrificial concrete put in. That's all at the contractor's cost. They've tendered to deliver a project within a certain time frame and certain parameters. If they fail to meet that, that'll be at their expense.
Councillor Thiessen.
Hi, thank you very much for that, Director Glavin and Mr. Hoyen. I guess my question is, at what point does administration make the decision that we can't wait any longer and we have to use that sacrificial concrete for pedestrian traffic flow downtown?
Well, through the chair, that would definitely come to the city and our project managers and the administration and engineering to determine that we have to redress the situation.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And I guess I'll just make a comment because typically concrete needs a certain temperature to set. And when we start getting into the October months, it gets colder and it's harder for that concrete to set. I know that it's a sacrificial concrete if that's what we have to employ. But I just encourage administration and our project team, I know I have full faith in you, to make this decision sooner rather than later if we know that we're not going to meet those deadlines to complete the project. Thanks.
Great. Councillor Pilat.
Thanks, Chair Bressey. Thanks, Monty, for coming in and giving us an update like you do every couple of weeks. And I know it's probably nobody wants this to be done more than you do. I know you've had a chance to speak to a lot of businesses downtown, and a few have reached out to me here recently, just about our conversation today specifically. But you had mentioned that the paving should be done on the sidewalk on that 98th to 90 or 99th to 100 section, and then paving stones would start the second week of September. Can that road open up at that point? Like, I'm just wondering, can we open up 99th behind, between the co-op and the bylaw department or city of 99th and allow traffic to divert through there once that's happening?
We are in discussions with the contractor to get 99th Street open. We would possibly have to open 100th Avenue just to a single lane with parking, but we are trying to mitigate that circumstance of having it closed for so long. The schedule did basically have October 26th as the opening of, or September 26th, sorry. September 26th is the opening of 100th Avenue. But the delays are moving that situation. So, like I say, we will be meeting with the engineering consultant and the contractor tomorrow to determine how we can move forward and get some progress on this situation.
So is there, if I may, Councillor Bressey, is there any ability or anything that council can get involved with to have that section between 99th and 100th on 99th Street get opened up? I guess what I'm really concerned about is the retailers downtown. If we don't get up and open up till mid-October because we're waiting for the other road, a really good chance that helps their Christmas season could be lost. And that's for retailers to lose a Christmas season is pretty tough. Summers are hard enough, but getting that one block over and allow traffic to at least get back in there and to establish itself is, to me, of great importance. I think, like the co-op section, yes, there's some retail in there, but they're not the same kind of retail as on that other section. So I'd have a real appetite to do whatever council can and whatever stick we can help swing to make sure that section gets opened up so that these retailers get opened up as soon as possible. My other question is there anything in our RFP that, or anything that precludes Cornelison from doing flagging? There's a lot of traffic being diverted around downtown, and a lot of projects allow flagging and some traffic through them. I'm just wondering if this is going to continue to be delayed, if they can start looking at putting some flagging in there, if it's their cost. Again, just to get traffic patterns flowing, speaking from experience on another street closure, it took up to 6 months for people to come back and get that traffic going. So getting any amount of traffic through there at all would be huge for the city, I think, and especially to show these retailers and these businesses downtown that we're doing everything we can. I'm not saying we're not. I just, I'd like to know if we can have a flagging option on getting that other street open and what sticks we can swing to help you get that 99th Street open to get access to 100th.
Through the chair, there was a discussion on the flagging option on 100th Street because currently with the work on the west side of 100th Street, it is still reduced to one lane, which is backing up the southbound traffic significantly. The signalization is still at 100th Street and 100th Avenue is still in control. So it's stopping traffic within that intersection when essentially there's nobody going east-west. So it was suggested to have a flagger there to move traffic through that intersection while the lights are still red because there's nothing going east-west to hopefully reduce the backup on the southbound traffic. I'm not sure if that has been implemented. On the 99th Street, I will bring that to our discussion and see what we can do with the flag people to maybe try and get traffic through there. Ultimately, it does come down to the safety of the construction zone, and we do not want to provide an incident area. So.
And if I can, Councillor Bressey, just what you're saying it's been suggested, I guess what I'm curious is what's the contractor's reason for not doing it? If it's being suggested, and I don't know how much we can push on that, but and certainly not wanting to put people in a safety position, but flagging happens all over in construction sites, and I don't think we put people in harm's way doing that. So I'm just kind of, suggestions are great. I just wonder again, is there anything that we can help do to push that it is beyond a suggestion and it's a reality that this is actually happening? Through
the chair. Ultimately, my direction is that I'm not supposed to tell them how to do things. I was basically suggesting to our engineering consultant that this could possibly move traffic faster through the 100th Street intersection. With the 99th Street, there's still a lot of construction traffic that goes through there, trucks moving, and so, like I say, all I can basically do is bring it to the contractor and our engineering consultant and try and improve the timeline for that 99th Street / 100th Avenue reopening.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Question I have, I'm not sure if it's for Mr. Hoyen or Director Glavin, but it's about potential costs other than hard costs if the project goes over schedule, are there any potential road rental fees or other penalties built into the contract if it's delayed due to contractor mistakes?
Through the chair, there are intersection rentals that we charge. So 100th Street and 98th Street both had intersection rentals. I'm not sure about the road rentals per se, if that is in the contract. But
Yeah, Director Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Bressey. Yes, there are penalties built into the tender. I don't have them offhand. That's something I could either bring to the next director's update or could circulate to council.
Great. And what happens with those penalties if they do get collected?
I'm not sure if we put them into general revenue or where we put them. I'm not sure where we have them allocated.
Just a general comment for committee on that. I don't know if others have the appetite for that, but if penalties do get collected, and I want to learn more about it. If it's hundreds of dollars, I probably don't care. If it's thousands of dollars, I might care. If it's tens of thousands of dollars, I definitely care. So I look forward to learning more, but it might be worth committee exploring. Can we return those to retailers if we collect them rather than the city keeping them? Don't know if anybody else is interested in that conversation, but I am. Are there any further questions? Excellent. Well, thank you for the update and thank you for your work on this. Really appreciated.
thank you.
And with that, we come to item 3.2, which is Director Service Area Report. Director Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Bressey. We'll start with economic development. Grant programs continue to be well subscribed. We've had over 100 economic recovery grants, with about half of those already completed and reimbursed. And we'll be bringing a report card back this fall once the season's wrapped up with how successful that program's been. As well, we continue to work with our partners on a health sector study and completing the water and energy studies for Hughes Lake. All are currently on track to be completed near the end of November. In energy and environment, skirting's been installed on the CHP units at Eastlink, and we're awaiting the installation of sound absorption blankets. We're expecting them to ship sometime around September 10th, and then once the blankets are installed, we'll be doing another sound study to confirm whether or not we are within tolerance at that point. In engineering, we've posted a 108th Street upgrades RFP for paving of 108th Street from 132nd Avenue to city limits. As well, we've posted the aggregate crushing program request for quotes, and that deals with all of the recycled concrete from city projects to crush to be reused in other city projects. Recently closed has been the 2021 slope repair program tender for 4 sites adjacent to pedestrian bridges and 1 vehicular bridge throughout the city. As well as the 2022 sidewalk program RFP. With current construction happening on 100th Street between northern city limits and 128th Avenue, Mission Heights has a number of local roads that are under construction and should be completed by the end of September. In Smith, 92nd Avenue between 92nd Street and Park Road is currently only open to local traffic, but is progressing. And other projects we have on the go right now: Masquete Park Pedestrian Bridge, the Mount View Stormwater Management Project, Highland Park Sidewalk Rehabilitation Projects. In planning and development, we continue to get businesses registered for business licenses, coming up to the deadline of November 1st to have your business registered. There is no cost to have a business license. It's just a matter of going onto the city's website or calling planning and development to get registered. In transportation, we completed the installation of traffic signals at 132nd Avenue at the John Paul II High School. Traffic along 132nd Avenue will be prioritized at all times of the day, and the signals will be on demand. So it'll call for service when there's people waiting to get onto 132nd, you coming out of John Paul II. We've increased the amount of time that the lights will be green during the peak times at the beginning of school and the end of school, and then all other days it'll be a relatively short light unless there's a pedestrian there. As well, we've begun installation of pedestrian beacons throughout the city. There are 20 to be installed, 6 are currently installed, and the remaining 14 will be installed by the end of September. In parks, most of our seasonal employees' last day was last Friday. The remaining crews will focus on spot mowing throughout the city as grass is not growing nearly as quickly, and with the drought conditions, hasn't been a robust year for cutting grass. As well, they'll focus on sanitation and tree planting to wrap up the year. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Director Glavin. I see Councillor Thiessen, then Councillor Minhas, then Mayor Clayton.
Thank you very much, Chair Bressey, and thanks, Director Glavin, for the updates. Just a question on the Park Road project. What is our current completion date for that?
I have to confirm for sure, but it's likely October 15th is likely the day we were shooting for in the tender.
Okay. And that would cover all sidewalks and the underground storm and utilities and all of that in there?
It should. There should be no reason why that's not done unless there's some sort of delay outside of what was tendered. And then as with any other project that exceeds the timeline, they are subject to penalty.
Okay, no, thank you for that. I don't know where I read it, but I think it said maybe in the media. I'm not going to throw the media under the bus here for it, but I thought it was end of November. So it's really heartening to hear that this project should be completed by mid-October, because similar to the downtown project, I was concerned that we might have open excavation or unfinished roads heading into the winter season, especially on that route. So thanks for that.
And perhaps just to supplement that, I'll confirm what the exact timeline is for that project. Typically, we shoot for October 15th, just given the construction season and the risk of snow in late October and, unproductive conditions that can happen as we lead into winter. It's not uncommon that there might be stages in a tender where some things are deliverable at one point, and there may be other aspects that are non-critical that could be delivered after. But that's something I can give council an email update if that would be sufficient.
Oh, no, definitely. I think all of us on council would appreciate that, Director Glavin. I guess my other question is we received a lot of funding from for emergencies on our infrastructure. And we dedicated a lot of projects inside of that funding. I know that the stipend was that they had to be completed by the end of the year. Do we have any projects that may be at risk for not being completed by the end of the year, thereby making us lose the opportunity to exercise those grants?
Thanks, Chair Bressey. It depends on the funding stream. So initially, when the ISIP money came out, that was December 31st, is that all projects had to be completed. There's a number of projects that were funded through that have received extensions to, I believe, the end of 2022 or 2023 now. The only program that hasn't changed has been the MSP, which continues to be the end of the year. The only project that we have that is still projected to be completed by December 15th, but hasn't started yet, is the park shop in South Bear Creek. However, it's not a particularly complicated build. If I remember correctly, I think we estimated it was going to be a $770,000 project. It recently got tendered below that, and it's a stick build. There's not a lot of complications with it. We're not expecting it to be a problem.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Director Glavin. It's all good to know.
Councillor Minhas.
Thank you, Chair Dillon. Brian, there is one question. What about 84 Avenue and 114? How are we doing this year? Are we going to get done that project?
Thank you, Chair Bressey. This is the project down on the west end of 84th, kind of at West Point. That's an Aquaterra project right now, and I'd have to get an update on that. My understanding is they were going to complete this year, but I haven't had an update in a few weeks, so I'd have to get that and bring it back to the next committee.
Okay, the second one, we did talk about the 99th Street, but about 98, that's where we're getting a lot more complaints. Then it's beyond schedule. It'll be delayed opening up 98th Avenue from 100.
Thank you, Chair Bressey. I believe in Mr. Hoyen's update, they were expecting it to be open next week.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Thank you, Councillor Minhas. Mayor Clayton. Councillor Pilat.
Helps if I turn my mic on. Thanks, Chair Bressey. Just to build off of Councillor Minhas' question with the Aquaterra project, I know it's not in city control, but one thing that is in our control is how much bylaw and and photo enforcement tickets that area. And I know from somebody that drive through there quite often, I'm just wondering if we can lay off on that a little bit, to be honest. It's kind of sneaky a little bit how we keep parking cars in there, and it's a little bit evasive in my opinion. And I just appreciate that people shouldn't be speeding through school zones, but that one's kind of been an eye-opener to me of just how tricky it is. And we've got cars parked behind gravel pits and behind equipment and food and photo radar. And I thought when we did the photo radar update, that wasn't the intent of it. I know it doesn't necessarily fall under infrastructure, but as it's just been brought up, I just wonder if we can get an update on that location specifically for photo radar and bylaw enforcement.
I'm not sure if Director Glavin or Director Manuel wants to take that, but I'm happy to let either one.
Yeah, certainly we can look into that and report back to committee.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm certainly not wanting that to be unsafe. It's been noticeable of how sneaky it seems to be that the ticketing has been done in that area. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressey. On another topic, if everybody's done on 84th Ave, I just wanted to let council know that CAO Glante and I received a brief email from the Catholic School Board thanking us for putting in that the lights at JP2. So thank you to administration for being very quick and responsive, and for also having the foresight to actually see what that light how it would operate when it's actually utilized, so for longer times during school hours, etc. So thanks to administration for making that happen in a timely manner, and thanks to council for supporting it. Just a letter that came from the Catholic School Board, so just wanted to let you all know. Thanks.
Great, thanks for that update. Are there any other questions? All right, I think that concludes Director Service Area update, so we can go right to the outstanding items list, and that's again Director Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Bressey. Item 1158, which is the Muskosipi Park pathway that we had a slope failure on earlier this year. And what we should do is, as far as closing it to future use or what other options we have to continue the use of it, we'll be doing slope stabilization work on that area sometime likely next year based on what design and tender comes back at. And we likely won't be able to make a decision on that until we see the results of that work and see if the slope is holding as expected. So the likely report date, as you see here, is probably 18-ish months out before we'd be able to make any of those assessments. So whether or not we need to leave it on the outstanding items list or you want us to revisit it and we'll make sure it's in our calendars, we'll leave that to council, but it's definitely high on our radar.
Great, thank you. Any comments on that? Councillor Pilat.
Thanks, Chair Bressey. Although it might be a long-term thing, I think it's important to leave it there for now. Maybe the new council can come in and maybe not leave it there. But there's a lot of folks campaigning, and I think these outstanding items lists are something that they're working off of. So I think it's a good one to leave on there for now. Certainly fine in the new term if the council comes in and says just move it off and it's a verbal update. But I don't think it has any harm of leaving it in there for now. So that would be my preference.
Great. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Chair Bressey. Yeah, I'm okay to leave it on there. I just had a question in regards to it. The way it's worded out, that standing committee with options to close future use of the existing pathway, including the risks of doing so. In here it says we're looking at options to close it. Are the risks we're researching the risks we are undertaking by closing it, or the risks we're taking by not closing it? So I guess I'm just sort of looking for what the risk assessment is here in the outstanding items list one. Is it a risk to equipment, risk to people? Is it a risk to direct traffic up through Minhouse Park as we've been doing? Just a little clarity.
Great, so I will just note that that's a council motion, not administrative creative, but it's definitely great to check in and see how they're interpreting that to make sure it aligns with us.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Bressey.
Sure, thanks, Chair Bressey. I think all of the above, if we continue to allow it open in the future and realign the paving. So right now it is open and it's functioning as a natural trail, and we don't see any significant risk at present. We did have some analysis done on that, and where the current trail is located is likely the long-term alignment for that trail, subject to the slope stability work that we're going to do. So we'll continue to weigh those risks as the slope stabilization happens. And then as far as pedestrians go and routing them through Minhas Park and to the new trail onto 68th Avenue and then back into the Muskogee corridor, that's also something that we can look at as from a risk perspective. But I would say that the risks of any of the options are likely going to be relatively low, although the motion leaves a lot of room for interpretation here. I think we can come back with some appropriate analysis of the different levels of risk of each of the options.
Okay. I wonder if council would entertain just a slight change to the original motion so as not to provide any further confusion to administration or future councils as to the nature of this work. I personally don't see any risk as far as diverting people up through Minhas Park. I do see a risk of allowing people to continue to use the existing pathway, especially as we get into the winter season and the spring season, which is typically once the snow starts to melt, that's when we start to see slides and the slopes start to destabilize a bit. So I'm just going to add one word in here, and if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass, but just an amendment to the original motion, and that would be the part including the risks of not doing so. And just to speak to that, we are talking about the slope stabilization. I don't think there's any risks to us actually looking into it or examining the path, but there are risks if we do nothing at all. So I hope that committee would entertain that. Thanks.
Great. I'm seeing head nods, but I think that just because this was a motion passed by council to do this wording, it would be good to do that as an actual motion, not just as amended. So if it's all right with you, Councillor Thiessen, I'll say that there's a motion on the floor to include the word "not" in front of risks in item 1158.
Yes, 100%, Councillor Bressey. Thanks.
Great. Is there any discussion or debate on the? I'll also just look at our city clerk. This was an outstanding items, or sorry, our recording secretary. If there's any advice, this was a motion that was passed by council, not committee. Would it be within committee's purview to change this? Or, I do see our clerks in the room too. I don't know who wants to take it.
The city clerk can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's this committee's outstanding item list, and you are welcome to make changes to it.
Great. In that case, I will call that motion in order and just look and see if there is any discussion or debate. In that case, I will call it to question. And this looks like we might need a revote.
Yeah, sorry. Just looking at the amendment, it says include the word "not" in front of risks. I believe it would be in front of doing so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think that was my error. All right, and I do see a new motion up for vote. And that motion carries. And with that, is anybody willing to move to accept the outstanding items list as amended? Oh, sorry, I see CAO Galante.
Thank you, Chair Bressey. Just as an additional comment about this topic, as you are aware, we have instruments installed on the slope. So we have a couple of piezometers and an inclinometer. So we're monitoring the movements. So if at any point, we detect anomalies or significant movement that may trigger a risk, we will immediately close the area, as we have done before. So just for your own peace of mind, we're actively monitoring the situation in that area. Thank you.
That is good context to have. I appreciate it. Councillor Thiessen.
Yeah, I also appreciate that context. Thank you, Mr. City Manager, for that. And I'm sure if we have that, and those updates will help to inform us or the new council when they're elected. And I feel very confident that administration is doing their due diligence on this, and now we know so 100%. So I would move that council approve the outstanding items list as amended.
Great. That motion is in order. Any discussion or debate? I will call it to question. And that motion carries. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. And I believe it's Protective and Social Services next.